If you don't have that as an outlet, what do people typically do? They will self-soothe. Could be booze, okay? It could be porn. It could be food, right? It could be anything which is getting that fake dopamine. Why? Because it's easy, it's instant, because their energy levels are low. Therefore, their motivation is low. Energy and motivation are exactly the same thing.
Paul, thanks a lot for joining me today. I've been with you for, well, I think over a year already, almost 2 years as a fitness coach, lifestyle coach, and it's been fantastic. You've helped me hit a lot of targets. First, figure out what the target was, and then really push me and keep me accountable to hit those targets. And you work with really executive leaders around the world, mostly in their fitness area, but in other areas as well. What are you seeing happening with leadership and fitness? What's the connection there?
Fundamentally, it comes down to what is driving performance. And I start at the top with energy. So energy is the number one, is the king, is the top dog, if you will, when it comes to driving performance. If you've got quality energy, that's going to enable you to lead as best as possible. Energy drives mental clarity. Then you flip that and you think, well, what's the opposite of that? If you're exhausted, burnt out, running on caffeine, tired by midday, you're not able to lead at the best level possible. So without doubt, the frame has to be, as a leader, is energy is king, energy is the number one asset, protect it at all costs. So that's the biggest thing that drives what I'm seeing with leaders at the moment.
That's important because I think sometimes around fitness we think I need the motivation. I just don't feel
Mm.
motivated to go to the gym. But actually, it's not a motivation issue. It's an energy level. These successful leaders are already motivated. They make money. They're high performing. They're high achievers. But they have the motivation for that. But they don't have the energy left over at the end of the day to get into the gym or to do what they need to do. So what are you doing? How are you working with these guys to help them find that energy? And then does that turn around for them?
Absolutely. So number one is identifying what the gap is, what's the blind spots here. And although most high performers, executives will tell me, hey, I'm performing well, like the KPIs are good, I'm hitting my numbers, everything's going great. That's only one area of their lives. It's what I call the one-dimensional douchebag. So everything's going great in your career, everything's perfect there, but then what's the rest of it look like? And more importantly, they may think, I love using ranking systems. So like 10 being amazing, one being terrible. How would you rank yourself right now? Most guys, energy wise, may say, I'm like a 6 or a 7. Like, cool. And they're still performing well. My thing is that, well, if you're still performing well at a 6 or 7, what would you be like at a 9? What's possible for you? How much better would you lead your teams? How much better could you drive revenue? How much better could your decision making be? Because fundamentally, when you're a high performing executive, your decision making is everything. Is that becoming tainted? Is it still where you need it to be? So from a work perspective, it's a case of optimizing that and trying to improve that as best as possible. And without doubt, the best way to do that is through health, through fitness. And then we want to make sure that when we're coming home from work, okay, you've ticked one box, right? You're successful in your career, but are you successful when you look in the mirror? Are you happy with the man staring back at you? Is your wife happy with you? Is your kids happy with you? Are you able to be present and engaged? Or are you coming home from work, still looking at emails, wired, at the dinner table, not really, your kids are talking to you, but you're not really taking it in. Your wife, again, is looking at you with a face like thunder because you're work, 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 work. What's that relationship like? So it's about looking at the full picture. It's about looking at your mental health, your physical health. It's about looking at your relationships. And of course, your career, making sure that we're trying to be as well balanced across those four buckets as possible.
Yeah, and I think that's so key because, you know, successful people, they're so focused on work, they start sacrificing other aspects of their life. They start sacrificing their fitness. I don't have time for it.
Mm.
They start sacrificing their sleep. Oh, I'm just going to stay up a little bit later. I got to get this done. Their diet
Mm.
goes to shit because, they're eating crap or they're eating on the run. And it works for a while until it doesn't. Until,
Mm.
it negatively affects their relationships at home with their kids or their spouse. And even then, I think for me, I didn't really pay attention to it until it started to affect my work, until my low
Mm.
energy or my temper, my frustrations would come out at work. And then I'd be like, wait, what's happening? And it's because the work was too heavy and the foundation, the mental health, the physical health was already been cheated and whittled down that it wasn't able to support the heavy work anymore. So yeah,
Mm.
that that well-roundedness that you're talking about, if you're doing good at 6, what will you be like at 9 or 10? And are you happy with the man in the mirror? I think that makes a huge difference because for a long time we think success looks like achievement, and that means money and career and position. But I know for myself, what I found out was that was never enough. I always
Mm,
wanted something more. And you can keep
mm,
chasing, but you're just filling a never-ending hole. And one of the things I realized was that, I learned how to be successful, and I never learned how to be healthy. And
mm,
that meant I didn't have the capacity to be as successful as I really could be because I didn't have that foundation. So are you seeing when you work with these guys and these women, they start into their fitness, they get their nutrition sorted out, they start working out. How's that affecting them personally in their work?
So again, I'd probably say if you look at, depending on where the person's at before they join our world, the number one shift they see off the bat within maybe even as short as a week would be the energy increase.
Mhm.
And I will talk about that a lot because energy drives mental clarity and makes you thinking clearly. And also, what else do high executives or high performers deal with a lot is stress. Now, if you don't have an outlet for that stress, i.e., right, something healthy where you get that good, healthy dopamine, going for a run, going for a walk, getting out in nature, ideally what I like to call sweat equity, which is doing something which increases your heart rate, going to the gym, pushing yourself a little bit physically. If you don't have that as an outlet, what do people typically do? They will self soothe. Could be booze, okay? It could be porn, it could be food, right? It could be anything which is getting that fake dopamine. Why? Because it's easy, it's instant, because their energy levels are low, therefore their motivation is low. Energy and motivation are exactly the same thing. So what we try and do is get them building the habits and put them into a good routine. So step one, step two, build up good routines, good habits, which is sustainable. Now, if you're someone who's working 50, 60, 70-hour weeks, the biggest complaint I'm going to get or the biggest obstacle is going to be time. So it has to be something which is simple to do, effective, that enables you to build a little bit of consistency. So for anyone watching this who's struggling to build consistency, maybe it's just going and getting up a little bit earlier, getting on the bike or going for a walk, getting out in nature. Maybe it's a case of walking a bit more at work and getting some steps in. Ideally, we want to do something which is going to challenge us. So it could be a case of maximizing going to the gym at lunch. A lot of my clients like to go before work when they've got less things on their to-do list. Going to the gym potentially at 5, 6, 7 p.m. when you're already tired and depleted and you're struggling for motivation, that may not be the best time to do it. So it's about looking at your week, going, where can I find little pockets of 15, 20, half an hour, and trying to get an hour, 2 hours accumulative work done with your fitness over the course of the week. If you do that, that have a really big impact, number one, on your energy. Once you start seeing that you are feeling more energized, that's a big impact that we mentioned on family performance. And then you'll start to notice some weight loss. Then you'll start to notice you're feeling a bit stronger, which takes your confidence to the next level. Most people I'm dealing with, success people, they don't lack confidence in the workplace. If I said to them, right, okay, that's great, but now I would love for you to go to the beach the weekend, take a top off, how would you feel? A lot of them might feel a little bit self-conscious and that they don't carry the same confidence they have in the boardroom that they might do at the beach or even in the bedroom, right? So my big thing is making sure that all of my clients don't just have confidence, I want them to have bulletproof confidence. And that word bulletproof means your confidence in all realms. The most important thing though is it means that you're not going to live a life of regret and you're showing up and really leading by example. Just because you lead well in the boardroom doesn't mean that you're leading well at home. I want you all, everyone reading this or watching this and myself, to make sure we're a great example of what health and fitness and leadership looks like.
Yeah, and I think that's so important because we delay it and then it starts to get it's harder to dig out of it. We say we don't have the energy to go work out, we don't feel like it. The irony is if you just squeeze it in there, it creates energy. You actually feel better afterwards. You will have that mental clarity. You'll have ideas come to you while you're working out, while you're on the treadmill.
Mm,
When you get off the treadmill, you're not going to go stop for some junk food. You're going to, not feel like eating those potato chips or something like that. And it really helps become that positive cycle. So I think that makes a big change in people's lives. And we've got to stop treating fitness and physical health as a hobby and start
mm.
really building it into building our capacity as human beings and as leaders.
Yeah, systems. So the one thing that makes most men and women in their careers successful is they have systems in place. And we need to build out the right systems with our health. So we don't just rely on willpower. If you're relying on willpower and motivation all the time, you never get things done. Me and you talk about it all the time. You know, you don't always fancy going to the gym or training. Like I'd probably say it's for me 40% of the time. I really don't fancy. Yesterday's a great example. I wasn't feeling amazing, was okay. I was like, I'm going to go to the gym because I've ingrained the habit. It becomes something that is part of what you do. It's an autopilot, but it takes a bit of time to get there. But I've got a system in place that I know when I get there, I'm going to do this specific thing, i.e., I'm going to get on a treadmill for 10 minutes. To your point about generating energy, I don't feel amazing, but I know once I get a bit of a sweat on, I get 10 minutes on the treadmill, already within that short period of time, I'm thinking differently. I've got more energy because the best way to have energy is to generate it. I'm thinking, like, okay, now I didn't really want to be here, but now I don't mind being here. And actually now I'm thinking about the workout I'm going to do. And it's almost that compound effect. And before you know it, half an hour, 45 minutes has gone by. Okay, it's not the most amazing workout in the world, but I've got something done. I've ticked the box. But more importantly, I've made a commitment to myself. I made a promise to myself. And the best way to build trust and belief and confidence within yourself is essentially not breaking your own promises. Saying you're going to do something and seeing it through, it's a very powerful thing. But the only way you can do that is you have systems in place that enables you to build that consistency.
Yeah, I think that's so important. To you want to build self-esteem, do esteemable things. Do things that you will be proud of. And yeah, we can say we're very busy, but we all know there's blocks of time where we just zone out, we're doom scrolling, we're wasting time, and we can be much more productive with it. But I think taking those baby steps and making commitments to yourself, following them through, then you're going to build your confidence, you're going to build your capacity, and then it gets bigger and bigger, and so you start to get those compound results. Um, just before we go here, Paul, if someone is a leader right now, they're quite successful in business, but they're just feeling like it's not enough, it's not, and they're not happy with the man in the mirror. What would you tell them to do? What are the first steps for them?
So I think fundamentally it's getting clear on if you're not happy with it where you're at right now, or what is the version of you that you would be happy with. And old school, getting a pen and paper out. Don't be getting your phones and laptops out and you've already got enough going on there. Carve away some time from the noise. The amount of people I speak to who aren't happy, and I tell them, well, what are you working towards? What have you got in your life that excites you? You cannot underestimate how important it is to have things in your day to day, whether it's a weekly thing, daily thing, that excites you. Because if you have that feeling of excitement, that's what we want to, that is happiness in some extent. If you're bored, burnt out, and not happy where you're at, i.e. on a low level, then you have to get clear on what it is you do want. But to do that, you have to create space for you to write stuff down. Get clear on the man you want to become or the woman you want to become. Get clear on what success looks like to you. Not what you think it looks like, not what you think social media or the media tells you what it is, what's true to you. And you can't do that if you're distracted. You have to carve out the time. So for me, number one, get super clear on who you want to become, what it looks like. Get granular with it as well. Don't just accept surface level. Always ask the question why and try and go as deep as, why do I want that? Why is that important to me? And get clear on that. And of course, we've been through some exercises that enable you to do that. But fundamentally, get clear on what it is you want and why you want to become that person. And then put in a plan in place that enables you to take steps towards that. Because, I use the story of, if me and you right now, Howard, we're in the desert and we're on our last legs, we haven't drank, we've been out of the desert for God knows days, and we're close to death, we're not in a good spot. But if we see a sign up there that says water is 1 kilometer away, what's going to happen is the dopamine's going to kick in, the adrenaline's going to kick in, and we're going to go from death's door. We're going to find the energy out of somewhere to sprint towards that water. And the thought of getting towards that water means we're living, we're going to be okay, everything's going to be all right, and we're pumped up, we're excited, we're going to run there. As soon as we get to the water and start drinking it, all that excitement's gone because we've achieved our goal. So the point is that it's en route towards the goals, not so much achieving them. It's having a plan and knowing you're taking steps. You're on the right path. You're taking steps towards that goal, whatever it might mean to you. That's where the dopamine comes. That's where the reward system comes. And actually, if you've got a goal that excites you and you're working towards that, you are living the dream in some respects. Because when you achieve that goal, then things can change. And to your point, you might want more. Maybe that's a different discussion for another time. But it's very, very important to get clear on what you want, why you want it, set some goals and targets that you work towards, and then put systems in place that enable you to get that feedback loop of actually, oh, you know what, I am moving towards this goal. I am making progress. And as long as our brain is making progress, we're doing okay. So that would be my first, if you want, bite-sized steps to take.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think people start doing that, they start to feel different, they start to get the energy. And as you said, as they achieve goals, new goals come out of it and you get even more aspirational. So that's fantastic. Well, thanks a lot, Paul. Our journey together has been fantastic. I've really appreciated it. You've kicked my ass when you needed to kick my ass, and you've called me out when you needed to call me out. But you always helped keep me accountable for achieving those goals and even dreaming bigger. And so that's been a lot of my success has been thanks to you. So I appreciate that. And I'm just glad for all of the people that you're helping out, the leaders across the world. Thanks a lot and have a great day.
Cheers, Howard. Thank you very much.